Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Productivity Mastery Podcast. I'm here today with somebody I'm happy to call my friend, and I would say one of the coolest people you can actually meet, and you'll see why. Because she's somebody that will always tell you what she means. There's no hidden agendas. She's a strong professional in her area. I've been going for advice to her multiple times, and she always gives me the tough love. I gotta say. So yeah, I'm here with Zari. How are you this morning?
Mornings are not my thing, but I'm good. Hey, everyone. Stoyan.
Okay, well, I'm happy that you're here, despite it's a morning. Is that a Latvian thing? I have somebody on the team that's Latvian, and she's not really a morning person either.
Maybe it's because sometimes the mornings, half of the year, are dark in this part of the world. No, but I guess that goes well together with our topic of the day, right? And I do believe big time in circadian rhythms and in sleep patterns. And I'm the kind of person that should be getting up at 8 and then have a nice coffee. So I'm in a good place right now.
Wow. Okay, I'm happy to explore also the sleep patterns and circadian rhythms and so on. But let's actually start just to give a bit of a overview. Who's this Zane Bojāre person out there? So could you share with us a little bit about your background? What do you do today? And maybe share also about the Startup Wise Guys organization that's very close to your heart, to my heart. So yes, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Stoyan. Really cool to be here. Greetings to everyone who has actually prioritized listening to us in this early hours. I hope you're equipped with coffee, water, orange juice, or whatever is your morning nutrition. I have my coffee mug here. I have my water here. Um, I have many hats I could put on, right? And I am. I'm a mom. I have two amazing daughters, and I was very happy that they're in the school so I could peacefully have this podcast. As in COVID times, they love to, if they see that I have a lipstick, they always hijack my videos because they know they can get anything at that moment. I'm a social entrepreneur. I was building a company before joining Startup Wise Guys, together with my best childhood friend. Best and worst decision in my life, but it was amazing. We were helping to reduce textile waste and also work with elderly people, reintroducing them back to the work environment and creating more meaningful life in the kind of later stage of life when you're already in retirement. Still love it. Wish I did sales better and I would still be working there, but that didn't happen. I studied something that is, I guess, it's always surprising when I talk about my degree. I have a master's degree in philosophy. And I guess that always makes me ask those many questions. And when Stoyan asked me to join, I was laughing to myself. I have more questions than answers about everything. But I guess that's the right approach because then you can find something in life. But lately, for the last 5 years, I've been working at Startup Wise Guys, which is actually right now one of the largest and most experienced accelerators working with startups and investing in startups in Europe. And just to throw a few numbers, in last year we have invested in more startups than majority of other European accelerators total portfolios. So from a small country, Estonia, Startup Wise Guys has grown into a very large player. But what I love more than investing and making money there, or losing money, depending, right, how it goes, I love being in this environment and working and changing lives of founders in the early days when they're building their companies. And we have this mission statement that we want to help founders become entrepreneurs, build great tech companies and now also sustainable companies, and make an impact in their ecosystems through entrepreneurship. And I mean, hey, it's almost a social enterprise if you formulate it that way. And since Stoyan allowed me, and this is actually Startup Wise Guys brought us together. So that's Stoyan is a long-term amazing mentor in our club. And I wanted to say, if there's anybody who's a founder listening out there, and then do check out our accelerator. We are constantly on the search for amazing founders to invest in, and also simply to support and grow together. And we're mostly working with business to business, sustainability, cyber, fintech teams. So definitely, but I'll stop my advertisement here. And yeah, so see, many hats. And at Startup Wise Guys, I forgot to mention I'm a marketeer. I come from communications with a strong background in PR, but communications is an amazing place because it's all about people and it's all about understanding.
I'm smiling because you almost forgot to say what you're actually doing with communications and marketing.
Yeah, I was so carried away by these other hats that I have in my life, and I think many of us have this have all of these roles, right, that we are trying to juggle. And the one that sometimes the one that you actually do seems so straightforward that you don't need to even remind about it.
I'm actually curious. You mentioned helping founders become entrepreneurs. What does that mean to you?
Oh, good question, Stoyan. So early in the morning, you make me think already. I would, well, if I kind of go back, not what it means to me, but what it means in general. Very often, especially we work in a very techy software field, you would very often see somebody who has a technical background and he has encountered a problem or she has encountered a problem that they want to solve. And usually they are good at writing code, they're good at analyzing something. They're not necessarily good at building a company, at selling, at managing a team, figuring out the strategy, and so on. And I think to be an entrepreneur, I mean, you can found things and still fail as entrepreneur, right? So we're helping this leap of faith when you understand that you kind of restructure your mindset, how you look at your business. And often if a founder comes in and in our program, in the accelerator program, and talks about their amazing algorithm, then hopefully by the end of the program they actually start talking about the customer needs. They start talking about what problem are they actually solving, why is it needed. And very often in this path they change very many fundamental things. And if somebody challenges me and says, why would I need an accelerator at all, I said, well, you can push very hard in the wrong direction, you can push for very long and waste a lot of resources. And okay, you can also push in the right direction, then you definitely don't need an accelerator. But if you are a little bit lost and you're wondering kind of, and you see that things are not working out with your business, then having these many bright minds and experts from different fields and the structured program often helps you find the path and accelerate it way faster. But I
Yeah,
didn't
and
reply to your question actually, now that I think of it.
I think you did. I think you did in some ways. And I what I love about the Startup Wise Guys being part of the extended Startup Wise Guys family, working closely for I think 5 years now, having written a book with El Patron, the CEO of Startup Wise Guys, and just coming back with a smile every time there is a program is, I think it comes down to you're not helping people to build better businesses, but it's about the leadership piece. It's about the personal development. It's about helping people to become definitely better leaders, and that, skills that they can use out of the business as well. So that's why we're waking up in the morning. We are passionate, we're driven. So everybody who's listening to the podcast right now, go check out Startup Wise Guys. um, can easily find it on Google. The
.com.
different, I have it as well. Boom. Uh,
You're fast.
Startup Wise Guys to come and check out the different programs, the pre-acceleration programs, the acceleration programs, in any other way you can actually get support on your journey as a founder, as an entrepreneur. But of course, today we're going to be speaking about something else. We're going to speak about, actually quite related in many ways. Um, Zana and I have been in touch, and actually she was a speaker at a conference that I was organizing, and we were discussing what is the kind of topic that you'd like to talk about, because she can talk about so many things. I gotta tell you that. But then we were talking about something, and I think I don't remember it was perfectly, but it was something around the dark side of purpose. That was the title of the preliminary title of her talk, and I thought it would be really interesting to explore these two sides of the story. Where is the sweet spot between being really ambitious, wanting to achieve, wanting to get things done, being really focused, performing, and then mindfulness, remembering to be in the moment, to actually enjoy the journey. Is there a way we actually can have a life with some sort of a balance, and where do we find the sweet spot? And Zane said she loves philosophy and digging deep into topics, so I'm super excited to go down the rabbit hole. Maybe Zane, how about we start with trying to define what is ambition actually? How do you define it yourself?
That's a very good question, and I actually was wondering if those people who are listening to us and have an opinion, that you actually write things, and I was thinking, okay, we can definitely find definitions out there on Google, right? But I think we just need to set the base for our conversation the way we want to tackle this concept, because you can find many definitions of any word, any word. And thanks, Stoyan, by the way, for suggesting. I think it's a great topic to tackle and think about. When I use the word ambition, I would almost go brave and say that I see two ways to look at it, and it's almost like I'm tempted to say there's a good ambition and then there's a bad ambition, but maybe the good bad is not the right terminology here. Anyways, I think you can look at ambition as simply movement, as a desire to grow, as a life force that kind of makes you get up in the morning out of bed, like makes you do stuff. You were talking also about your experience, for example, mentoring at Startup Wise Guys. I think you have a workshop right after our podcast, right? So there's this positive force that simply makes you go on with things, get better at things, and yes, at some point also achieve certain results. Why not, right? But then on the other hand, I think there's this um, dark side, right? This ego driven ambition, or things driven ambition. And when I was digging in and writing my bachelor thesis about advertisement, and it was a long time ago when I graduated, so of course the environment was a little bit different. But the bottom line was that the whole consumer system and the way advertisements, for example, work, they are creating you unfulfillable desire. So you are by definition trying to chase, and you have this, I don't know, ambition to have a Porsche, or ambition to have this fancy CE level title in your LinkedIn profile, or ambition right now, for example, in the startup scene, you have the unicorn craze, right? In Estonia, they have so many, in Latvia, Lithuania, only one, but still. And all of the founders talk about this, and they think that growing to be a 1 billion worth company is the ultimate goal, forgetting why they started building the startup in the first place. So if we talk about ambition as this life force, we need it, right? So otherwise we would die, right? We need this movement, and it depends probably from people to people, who's more like focused, who's less. But then there's this ego drive, and like, I'm saying today that that's bad. I'm saying it's dark, and please challenge me, either you, Stoyan, or listeners. But I also see uh, a lot of these patterns, either with our founders or just generally with people. When this, people say, "Oh, I achieved this goal, and now I feel so empty," or they have severe health issues on the road. And when you have that, when big things happen in your life, your child is born, or your parent dies, or you're diagnosed with some kind of very, very severe illness. And come on, we're living in COVID times right now, right? So I think at that point, you notice how so many things become irrelevant. And usually it's this ego ambition, this dark thing, that you're suddenly like, why am I spending so much time? Why am I putting so much resource and mental capacity and everything, chasing something that probably actually doesn't change my life? And I will stop here. That is a very Zanus way to explain this term, and is definitely not what the definition says if you Google it. But at least that's kind of on a very broad level how I would look at that.
When you said it, that's a very Zane way. I felt like that's a very Zen way, like a.
I like that.
I will agree with you on these two kind of sides of the story. I think ambition, being driven, and ambition actually is our force for progress in many ways, right? We want to achieve something bigger, we want to grow things, and that's how we evolve. I'm super driven person, as you know. I'm super passionate. By default, I'm leaning towards the ambition a lot more, naturally, organically. I wake up, I'm ready to go, right? And let's build things. I call people, and so for me, that part comes a lot easier. But I can see how, if it's not put into proper place, if it goes too high up, it can actually be toxic in some ways. uh, and I love that you talk about where is it coming from. I think that's the kind of thing. Where is it coming from, this thing? Is it coming from a healthy place, or is it coming from a place of ego?
Yeah, and this is where mindfulness comes in, right? This is exactly the thing that if you don't, and again, we could define mindfulness, but right now I'm going to use a very small aspect of it and say, if you don't pause and you don't ask those questions to yourself, if you don't go into like, okay, I'm in this place. Why am I here? Why am I reacting like this? Why do I need that thing? So many why questions. That's kind of what philosophers do, right? They ask the question to everything. And just to give you an example, for example, from my own life, I realized very, very late in my life that a lot of my ambitions, especially professional or educational, were driven by two things, and those were not good things. One was I came from I have three siblings, so we're four kids family, and I always felt like my like I have to fight for the love and attention of my parents. And also it was Soviet times. I'm still a Soviet times kid. So the parents were never around. So even if we were not four, probably I would be still having this doubt. Do they love me enough? And so on. And I had amazing parents. So it's nothing to say about them. And I realized, I think in my mid 20s, that I have been chasing these good marks. And it was my kind of survival strategy. My youngest brother, we were very close in age, was the little rebel who was sometimes lazy and sometimes doing some kind of bad things. I hope he's not listening. But whereas I was the good girl, I was the one who was bringing the good grades home, the one who was behaving well, who was doing what mommy and daddy expected. So I put on this role of this ambition of being the good girl, so my parents would love me. And I mean, nothing nothing wrong with being a good person, right? But I just realized that many of my choices in my life were to please my parents. And another thing was I that somehow our family fell into, like, we had this bully group in our yard. Like, it was kind of interesting, proper full-blown raw childhood. Yeah. So yeah, and we even had like a not a very nice nickname, how me and my siblings were called by some of these bullies in and I realized that I remembered at one point when I came back to my small hometown, and I had my first nice car, and I was earning good money, in a PR agency. And I stepped out of it and was like, yeah, see? And then I was like, oh my God, Zan, seriously? Like you till such a long time in life, you wanted to prove somebody something. And why? Like, why you've invested your time, your life, your good years simply to show some kind of, I'm sorry, asshole, that you can do good in life. And I don't know if Napoleon wasn't short. I don't know if he would go over conquering the world, right? So there's a lot of things. And just to finish this story of mine with the family, my dad passed away already a few years ago. And I invited his sister, my aunt, on a Christmas morning to just celebrate together. And I'm sitting by the table. I had left already in past this desire to prove my parents something. I had amazing relationship with them. Love my dad too. I don't know. I could cry right now talking about him. He's such an amazing person. And she sits by this table, sips coffee, and out of the blue, without any context, she says, "You know that you were your daddy's favorite. He loved you so much. He was so proud of your choice."
Wow.
He was, and I was, and I was sitting there, and the tears started flowing down my face, and I was like, "Oh my God, did I really have to wait for my dad to die to hear this?" And whom was I trying to prove anything? And I probably, not in the late part of his life, but probably I lost some opportunities to really connect and to be present in relationships just because I was chasing these good marks and good things to bring home. So I would say that ambition, if we look at it, is at this positive life force. It's a good thing, but it has to come from a good place. It has to come from peace of mind, that hey, I'm here, I'm fully present, I'm doing 100%, I know why I'm doing that. And for example, right now, if you ask me, am I more like startup-y girl, wise girl, or I'm more a social entrepreneur? I'm more a social entrepreneur. In my heart, I still want to make the world a better place. But I am here because I see that I can impact the entrepreneurs of the future. I can impact the way technologies are developed. I can impact how they think about their business, how they think about their employees, how they think about the market where they operate. And for example, I'm against fake it till you make it concept. And we've had this internal joke. Startups will understand. We say, make it so you don't have to fake it.
And I can really relate to this because if we can support founders, entrepreneurs, people who are listening right now somehow to make a pause and start looking inside, as you had this all your life chasing approval and trying to please, where is this coming from? Can we actually take a pause and start looking inside, and instead of assuming that somebody wants to be pleased a certain way, address it, take the proper steps. I mean, some people go to psychologists, therapy, different transformational experiences. And the earlier you actually do this kind of work, I mean, it's a never-ending journey. Let's we can talk about it as well, right? I mean, people are like, I'm gonna go to a Tony Robbins seminar and I'm fixed for life. No, you
Yeah.
probably get some inspiration, get some good ideas. But but
It's like with a regular doctor, right? You cannot go and when you have a virus and then fix yourself for forever.
exactly. So, but if so everybody who's listening who hasn't done this type of thing, we don't have to wait for people to pass away. If you are trying to do things because you want to prove somebody or something, or you're not feeling good enough for some reason or another, of course it can help. Actually, it can actually help in terms of the achievement side.
As well.
Sometimes that could be helpful, but if it's coming from a toxic place, like what's the point of it after all? I listen to I love to listen to podcasts and I love to record podcasts, but I listened to this episode that Tim Ferriss was having a guest, Brene Brown, and it's a great episode. You guys have to check it out as well. But they had this discussion around two questions that Tim found out for himself at some point of his life, right? Like he wants to reflect and see what's the next step. And one of the questions was, and maybe we can start with these questions. And I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on that would be. One of the questions, there are two questions that are complementing depending on where you are on the scale of what we're speaking about, right? Ambition and mindfulness. So one of the question is, how can you be achieving without being self-abusive? That's the first question. Maybe we can dig a little bit into that for all the entrepreneurs listening, right? All the founders out there that are chasing, working really hard, sometimes sacrificing their well-being, their friends, the social life. So how can you be achieving without being self-abusive?
Such a good question again. I don't have a prepared. You didn't send me the question, so I don't have a prepared answer. But if I have to dig into my brain, I would go back to extremely old and abused formulation: know thyself. So the first thing is, I think, if you don't want to harm yourself, you need to understand yourself. I'm a big fan, for example, of different typologies. All of my colleagues know I constantly right now quote the book Surrounded by Idiots, which is about typology of people. Very simplified, I would say, but thus, at least for me, it's easy to remember. And when you understand who you are, how do you function, this is also where the sleep rhythms come in. This is where nutrition comes in. This is where physical exercise for women, this is where understanding your cycle comes in. If you understand yourself on all of these elements, be it body, be it your character, be it maybe even your state, its current state in life, for example, parenting and building startup is extremely difficult combo. Even though I'm not building a startup right now, it still takes a toll on me. And I think when you are very very realistic about those things. Actually, speaking of this, I also I also like to listen to things. I love Commune platform, which is actually suggested by my life coach, and that's if you're listening to us, I hope you are. Thanks so much for suggestion, also your help. Find someone you can trust and use their services regularly. She suggested me this platform called Commune, and I forgot the name of the author, but he has written a book about highly performing people. And he said that they did a huge research, and what turned out the most important characteristic of people who did well, and not only in professional but also personal life, was seeking clarity. I was amazed when I read this, because you would expect other things. You would expect leadership. You would expect, I don't know, fast decision making, or being like Hitler who can sleep for hours a night and be still productive, or something like that. I'm sorry for bringing up these names. It's just striking, right? And if you look at clarity from a different point of view, it is being realistic about what is out there, being conscious of how do you come into certain situations, being conscious what you want out of those situations. And so if we return to your initial question about how not to be self-abusive, so if you know those things, then you can build habits around it. So this is my problem, by the way. In ancient Greece, there was, I think, 10 different words for wisdom and smartness and so on. They said one is practical, and I think we're missing it so much because we read books and listen to podcasts, and our brain is full of good thoughts, but if we don't put them in action every day of our lives, nothing changes, right? So apart from knowing yourself, I think it's extremely important to have this habit layer. And for example, something that we see and we try to nurture more and more at Startup Wise Guys as well, especially when the startups come together on site, which has been a challenge for the last 2 years. We actually try to kick them out in the evening. We try to remind them to have good food. We ask them, have you drink enough water today? And have you done exercise? And I think, again, you have to know yourself. You have to know, is it running that works for you? Is it yoga? Is it heavy lifting in a gym, right? Is it CrossFit, for God's sake? But and it might change, right? So knowing yourself and adapting your life on a habit level to what you need, I think, is extremely important. And I also see the patterns that people usually focus on something one. For example, they say, okay, I'm going to meditate. I generally think everybody should meditate, if you ask me. And at least even if you do it a little bit for 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes before you go to, but get Headspace if you like apps or any other app that's there, or I listen to stuff on YouTube, for example, and or just do meditation as a non-guided guided breathing activity. But basically, whatever you do, there should be, if you just meditate, but you do not take care of your body, you're going to be in trouble anyway. If you don't have deep relationships with people close to you, and COVID has not helped us in this whatsoever, right? Especially if you're living remote from your family, dear ones, or spending time away from your children, or just best buddy. It's like there's at least 10 elements of life where you should have somewhat good balance of things. And in a way, that's a very long answer to your short question. But again, knowing and then having doing stuff, actually doing something on a regular basis, having those habits.
Thank you for finishing with on a regular basis, because we have this industry now of personal development industry and all these books, and everybody is giving you the 7 secret steps and the magic formula and the pill that you need to. There's no pill, guys. There's hundreds and thousands and millions of strategies, and many of them actually work really well, but they don't work if you do it once. You have to do the work. If it's meditation, and I love what you say, Zane, because I've been one of these people that personal development, like in my 20s, especially early 20s. Oh my God, personal development seminar. I was the seminar junkie. There was a term for this, right? Seminar junkie. Go to the seminar, get all the tools, start doing them, and go to the next seminar. There's new things. I start doing the new things. And and expecting that this is the perfect formula that's going to solve all my problems. It does help, but you gotta do the work, and you have to see
Exactly.
whether it works for you. I cannot meditate every morning at the same time. I'm not that type of person. I love to meditate, but I have to admit to myself that I'm a very creative person. I love diversity. So I wake up this morning, I'll probably meditate for 15 minutes. In 2 days, I'll meditate half an hour. Then I'll have 2 days that I'll do a walk and have a whatever, right? Because that's me. And I accept myself, and it comes with self acceptance, right? Like accepting who you are and getting to know who you are. For all the founders, all the entrepreneurs, all the business leaders out there, really taking a step back and digging deeper. What makes me happy? Do we ask this question? What makes me happy? Achieve, achieve, achieve. Great. I'm a very driven person, but what makes you happy? I don't know, Zane, what do you think about this, and whether you ask this question?
Yeah, like I mean, I remember in a difficult period of my younger life before kids, and before maybe also being in such a, I don't know, in a better place, I guess, understanding myself. I remember I think yeah, in just dark period of a lot of changes. I was out of a relationship that I valued a lot, and I was changing jobs because I couldn't work in the job anymore. And I was in this flux in between, right, when you're either going to fall into depression or not. And I did two things. One was that I took a white piece of paper and I wrote simply a list of all of the things that bring me joy. And it's kind of not an answer to the happiness question, but it helped me survive this down moment in my life. When I was in like stage, I would just take out my list. I was like, oh, I actually wrote that I like dancing, and I would just put on music and I would dance a little bit. It's a bit of different question that I'm answering, but just sometimes, yes, taking that white piece of paper and writing it there, or just spending time and like, you wouldn't call it a meditation really, but if you just sit down, calm down your breath, and just kind of be like, hey, I'm just here, I want to kind of what resonates with me, right? You can find these answers. And the second thing that I did in my very low moment, I was like, if I stay here in this environment, in this situation, I'm going to get into a depression, and I don't want that. And I found a volunteering job in a surfing yoga camp in the middle of nowhere in Portugal. I was washing dishes for other people and spent a month there learning to surf. And I came back a different person. But what it meant is that I took myself in my own hands and said, okay, nobody's going to fix this for you, and you can sit here and feel miserable, and probably lose half a year of your life not wanting to get up, or you can actually change something. And trust me, 3 days before I had to leave, I was sleeping in the bed with blanket. Here's like, what the F are you doing with your life? Why do you need to go? You wouldn't even know what's going to happen. Why do you need this? It was a transformational moment in my life. And also, like, sometimes I'm also not saying, oh, like, I actually don't believe in this. Your work and your job should be your hobby. Sometimes I think there are tough days. I don't love every day at Startup Wise, guys. And I didn't love every day even more so at my entrepreneurial experience. And I didn't love every day when I was working for a PR agency serving large clients. Uh, Sometimes there are shitty days, and sometimes there are bad clients. And in entrepreneurial journey, moreover, probably every day you have to make very tough decisions, and not everybody feels comfortable in that. And it's not meant to be. But I think that if you are clear also with balanced things, I don't know, if you say, okay, at 7 p.m., I switch off my computer, I do yoga or whatever, I run, then I come home and I hug my kids, and then I have a good dinner with my loved ones. And okay, in the morning, I get up and go again. I think that balance, that kind of being also present in those moments work. And actually, I wanted to make it's interesting what you said about your meditation routines, and again, this is I like that you also referred to kind of knowing who you are. There are people who are extremely good with having super precise rhythm every day, and I actually admire them. I can't. But for example, for me, what really helped, I downloaded it was actually one Latvian couple that was addressing also in a podcast this topic about habits. And they had this super simple spreadsheet. Literally, it was just you write down which habits you want to develop and you just tick. and for example, you think if you manage to meditate that day, so it doesn't matter you do it in the morning, in the midday, or before you go to sleep. It just matters that you fixate it. Did you actually achieve it? And for example, I had such an interesting journey. It was beginning of COVID first wave, so I was at home. My life had totally changed. I was like, had 2 kids at home all the time, 24/7, with homeschooling, and I realized that this is also a mindfulness exercise, because I assumed that I meditate every day. When I started tracking it, it turned out, no, I do it 3 days a week. But what I noticed a pattern, the days that I did, I had a lot better day. And then for example, I tracked movement. I tracked something that is just, I go for a longer walk, I ride a bicycle, I do yoga or something, and I kind of put it in the same pot, and I was just tracking. And for the first week, I was like, I felt a lot of this achiever ambition in me came. You really suck with your habits. You're really like not. And then I was like, whoa, Zane. I am right now mindful. I am right now seeing the patterns. I'm observing myself in this. I'm observing me in this habit formation. And then after I do it for probably 2 weeks, I will make adjustments. And for example, one of my adjustments was that I realized that I entered this exercise with too much ambition, because I wanted to do everything. Good food, yoga every day, meditate 3 times a day, walk with my kids, things like that. And I realized I put so much pressure on myself that I failed after 1 week. And then I changed. I tore it in pieces, that particular piece of paper, threw it out, printed a new one. And then I said, okay, I'm going to put 2 things, movement and meditation. That's it. Then when I felt like, okay, movement, I'm on a good track, I will add one more. And I'm also a creative person. I'm rather chaotic in my, and I really struggle to establish habits. What I found an amazing help was buddies. And at Startup Wise Guys, we have a little bit of like a club. We have this, we call it Own Your Mind channel. It was born throughout COVID times, when we understood that many of us are locked at home, sometimes alone. Well, even if you're locked with your family, sometimes it's even a bigger struggle, right? and we were just checking in on each other, and we were kind of reporting in that Slack channel how our morning looked like. Did we meditate? Did we run? And we still do it. We still check in, and I have through this developed an amazing, close, loving relationship with my colleague Karina, if she's listening. She's my meditation buddy, and I would just write in the morning, "Hey, I did 5 minutes. How about you?" And she's like, "Oh, if I forgot. Wait, I'm going to do it quickly." And this helped. And I actually started doing, sometimes I would be meditating 5 times a day just because of these reminders. Or I would just even, meditation is kind of, again, another word we could discuss a lot about. But especially to those who are like, nah, meditation's for pussies or something. I know, I'm sorry, like in tech scene, there's so many people who think that asking for help for mental health and doing these self-care things, especially if those are soft, not CrossFit, right? It's kind of like, nah, only the ones who can't handle their life do that. But sometimes just before a tough call, sitting down for those 5 minutes, and breathing in and being like, hey, I want the best to possible happen in this call. I'm not even sure where the goal is, right? It just makes such a difference.
I used to see meditation as this super complicated. You have to do so much to be able to master it. Only a few can do. But at some point, I realized really meditation gives you a way to pause and to observe your thoughts. And just the achiever thing that you were speaking about, the achiever voice, when I was meditating previously, my aim subconsciously was you should have no thoughts. Or if you have any thoughts and you kind of start daydreaming while you're meditating, then you fail. And I'll beat myself up that I'm not doing the right meditation, which is so stupid. At the end of the day, the whole point of meditation is just there's multiple techniques, there's multiple different ways to do it, but the mindset towards it is I need to slow down, and when there is a thought, an emotion, I simply observe it without judging it. And maybe sometimes it might take 2-3 minutes of you daydreaming, and then you kind of, hey, the moment you get aware, it's about awareness. The moment you get aware, you won. That's it. That's a success. Simply by taking the time to do something for yourself, that's already a success. And I love what you said about the habits, right? There's many teachers who are suggesting the same approach. Start small. Like, what is the minimum thing you can do, so you don't feel like, especially the overachievers. Usually, founders, entrepreneurs, these are the overachievers.
Yeah.
It's easy for them to go places, to run, and it's so much harder to unplug and rest and be mindful and actually observe the the environment around. Which leads me actually to the second part of this question, which I started. So the second part is, how can I be self-accepting without becoming complacent? And it kind of goes more towards the other type of people who are more of a, they they tend to sometimes use, I just need to be in the present as a as an excuse not to do stuff. I mean, there's the fine line, right? You need to be taking care of yourself. You need to have this self-care, self-love, self-compassion. Give yourself space to recharge. But there's this type of people who really hard struggle to get motivated, to get driven, to achieve things, and they always come up with the excuses of, I just have to be in the moment, and yeah, I work on my business, but it's gonna be in 2 weeks. And 2 years later, they haven't done anything, and you're like, you gotta move. The only thing you gotta do is you gotta take action, right? So I'm curious to hear from you. What's your thoughts on this?
See, this is the part where I would be like wondering, do you? I mean, it's kind of like when you. I have a my oldest brother is like this, that he's all the time kind of like flowing through the life, and I always like, I also I'm rather kind of I like to achieve things, and I'm also very kind of like driven. Also, ego driven. I will not hide it. And when I talk to my brother, I'm always like, yeah, like figure things out, make choices, move. But then I also if I zoom out of that situation, I'm wondering, what's my problem? Why am I going into this situation and thinking that I need to teach him? And I would go and say actually that there's so different journeys. And and if you are in this pausing moment, sometimes, I mean, you you cannot, and actually you shouldn't try to live somebody else's life, and you don't know what is good for them. So often when I have a funny question that I often ask, is this a good or bad thing when somebody complains about something or tells me something? Is I don't know, maybe. And you never know what is happening with their lives, and maybe sometimes pushing them for some kind of yeah, just go and do it. It's their journey. And sometimes of course, we also have these founders who are, I would say, the dark side of hustle, right? They hustle, 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 nothing ever happens out of that. We invest money, we lose the money, not good, right? But when I look at them, it's like, okay, what is my role in this? um, and for example, I mentor startups on public speaking and pitch training, and I am very how to say, I'm very cautious sometimes what kind of feedback I give to the founders. Some founders are so lost that the only thing they need, if you want to nurture them, not to whip them, the only thing they need is somebody to say, hey, you're doing good, you have a good voice, you know your business. There's just this tiny thing that you need to achieve to be better. And suddenly you see how they bloom and how they open up. There are other people who need shit. They need somebody to tell them, man, this pitch sucks. You can do so much better. You're slacking off, and that is your business. No go. But it takes this, and it is, to me, it is also exercise of mindfulness, that you have to be first pausing and observing, and only then coming with an opinion. And actually, I'm not a religious person, but if you look at sins, right? So you should not actually be thinking that you know better about somebody, because that's pride. That's Stoyan knows better how to live life. And there are people, like, I don't know, there are people who are extremely sometimes they're like, I think I look at people who are, for example, content. Let's talk housewives who are content with being home, being with their children, being taking care of the house, the garden, but they're 100% there. I sometimes look at it and I say, what do I need to prove in this life? Why can't I do that? Right? And I'm not. I'm a great mom, and I'm also love to do my work, and I love to be in house, and I love to be out the house. But I think the question is, what is good for that particular person in that particular period of life and life situation. So I'm not exactly agreeing with you here.
No, I appreciate that, and thanks for going deeper into this. I actually agree with the things that you say, that every person is different, every situation is different, and the approach should be very individual, very personal, and you have to come with care, and care might mean sometimes you need to be a little bit more like this, right? But actually, the depth of the question, and here we have Joe, who's connecting with us and who appreciates the question as well. How can I be self-accepting without becoming complacent? Which, by the way, is not my question. I borrowed the question from the podcast that I listened to with Tim Ferriss. But I also love what you said, that everybody has their own journey. How do you know? I mean, the Napoleon guy, you mentioned Napoleon. I mean, maybe he's achieved so much in terms of military achievements at some point of his life, but then maybe he was not happy. I don't know. I don't know his story and everything. So who are you? And the housewife, right? You're a housewife. You're happy. Life is great. You don't have this inner urge, right? Okay, great, awesome. Tell me, how can I be happy, right? Like, I can learn from you. But if you're a housewife and you're like having this ambition, you're driven, you want to do things, and innerly you're not feeling in a good place, then you maybe have to make a change.
Yeah,
Is
there's
that
there's
fair?
even this formula of happiness that is very simple. It's expectations minus reality. And if we go back to what I said before about this clarity, that you're looking with like realistic eyes on your life, on yourself, on your family situation, your work situation, that should help you adjust your expectations. Because I personally see that a lot of this negative what this negative ambition, right, this negative drive does, it that it also boosts these expectations. Because if you say, oh, I want to be a startup unicorn, right, a founder, and then you kind of, and you, I don't know, you maybe die through physical health issues throughout that journey, and you neglect family, and maybe never form one, and so on. So I don't know. I think it's you have to be kind of very careful there.
And maybe because I'm curious also to hear about your own personal methods, so to say. From my experience, I can see you have this drive, this passion, this ambition. You have this achiever's voice inside. What do you do when things don't go by plan? Maybe you are stressed or overwhelmed and you get out of balance. What specifically, practically, do you do to get yourself back on track?
Um, you will have to remind me this question because I wanted to say something else before. I was going to this one very interesting lecture by a Latvian lady. She's now called Ini Nini, I guess that's her kind of nickname professionally. And she said a very interesting phrase that uh, uh, that human is a format through which, and whatever you believe, God, cosmos, whatever, experiences itself. And your role in life is to figure out what form or what purpose you have been given. And when I was doing I was creating this social enterprise together with my friend Solvit. I remember I told you I'm not a morning person. I was waking up every every morning, excited and with a very good energy level, which was a surprise to me because that's not really my pattern. And also, if I remember the first part of this journey, when we were just setting up the company, and we were hiring the people, we were looking for premises, coming up with these design concepts, we were creating woven rugs out of textile leftovers. I cannot explain to you, but like all the things happened so naturally and even better than I could have ever expected. Like the road just was paving itself, and it seemed actually easy. It of course there were minor hiccups, but there was this sensation that the that the kind of life wants to support us on this journey. And I personally think that when you really are in this right path, things happen. Of course, there are people who don't believe in this, right? They don't believe that that can happen, these synchronities or this kind of. But I do. I've experienced it in my life. But when things don't work, it's a very. I think it's amazing question. Uh, First is sometimes you need to be kind of like, okay, this is not working out. I'm in a situation and I don't know. I feel tired or I feel angry and so on. Again, first thing is just pause, right? And I usually ask myself, well, why is it? Fun fact, for example, if I don't eat my lunch on time, I get very pissy. It doesn't take much, right? If we believe in Ayurvedic approach, so the fire in me is like, phew. And I can also be not nice to people. I always say to my team, like, let's not schedule something before when I'm hungry. Um, so sometimes it is on bodily level that there's something bothering you and you're just not yourself. Sometimes and to me and if I really have gotten into this anxious mode, sometimes I can't even help myself much, and I need to accept that I have entered in that phase and it's there. And then, of course, there's the second question: can I help myself? And then there's tricks again. Know yourself. I don't know. For me, sometimes just taking random shower during the middle of the day with warm water is just like helps. I like Wim Hof breathing method a lot. I also tested last year to go into ice pond.
You did not.
I did it in minus 16 degrees on my name day with a cake in my hand. So I have proof.
How was that?
Oh man, that's actually for especially for male for men listening to this. And if you think that meditation and all of that is for pussies, try Wim Hof method. There is a breathing element to it, which is actually great, and I do it last beginning of this year, for example, in the grim January and February, which trust me is terrible in the Baltics when it's like raining, sometimes wet snow and dark in the morning. I would just get up and I would just do the at least one round of Wim Hof breathing. You can find this method even on YouTube. Just kind of get it there, you use it. 3 rounds is better, and then I would take a cold shower. And then I have a group of friends that we were actually going to this frozen pond, and while other people were ice skating around us, we were going in the water. There was like a cutout, this small space where you would walk in. Even my oldest daughter did it twice with me. What it does, like when you are this going in the ice is amazing experience, but you should be prepared. Don't do this random, I'm just going to jump and prove that I'm cool, which many guys do, sometimes also ladies, but more guys. When you have to be first of all, you have to be aware what you're going to do. You also have to be aware that you have to dress afterwards very, very quickly, because otherwise your fingers freeze. And it's very interesting, there is no time for thoughts. It's cold, and you just like, you undress yourself, you actually want to get in that water because water temperature is warmer than the air, as you're doing when it's minuses, right? And when you go in, first thing is like, I'm gonna die right here, right now. And your whole body is screaming, what the F, Zane? Like, why are you doing this to me? Get out while you can before you die. But then when you kind of, you have to focus very, very much on your breath. It's extremely important because you can't hold your breath while you're doing that. Otherwise you can really harm yourself. And also you need to relax your body. And when you go into the water, you have to stay there for a little bit. So we did it like that. We have mittens and we have a hat, and then you kind of like dip yourself in the water till the neck. And when you are in the water, it's amazing. It's like like nothing. There's not. It's empty. Like you're in this magical realm of. You almost don't feel yourself, like you, as if you didn't exist. And I think deep meditation does the same. And there's other methods to get there. And it's like the world has stopped a little bit, and it just gives you this very, very deep connection. Like it's almost. I would assume that drugs do something similar, right? Psychedelic or something. And even your senses, they are they're like on like on the edge, like you can sense things. It's so interesting to, for example, feel this ice on your skin and what it does to you. And afterwards, if you have done things correctly with your breathing and with your relaxation of the shoulders, which was my mistake, by the way, first time I did this, and it was hurting afterwards, then you have this sudden surge of this warmth and positive energy afterwards. And there is even a proof that the Wim Hof method can help very much also with mental health issues, with depression. And again, you have to know yourself, you have to know your body. It's bad for some people. Even I stopped doing it because my muscles got too tense, and my physio said, not your thing. So again, I'm not preaching as like everybody should do it, but I was fascinated. And for example, doing these pauses in between a working day when you feel overwhelmed or you feel angry or frustrated, it just helps going back these steps, and it creates this space where you can like slow down and just like look at that situation. And very often that situation is, for example, normal, like the it's like a symptom, right? If you're angry, then there's a reason why you're angry, the same way as you have a rash on your hand because, I don't know, you poured a chemical liquid on it. So it's also this observation of these symptoms, but these symptoms in your work environment, these symptoms in your, how do you feel about your house, which right now my room is a mess. And I'm like, what can I do with that?
Nobody sees though on the
Yeah,
camera.
that's
It's perfect.
good.
Maybe you're with the flip flops and shorts, but you don't have to show us. It's fine. We know that.
No, I usually have these very funky woolen socks when the heating is not switched on yet.
I love what you say, and this is sort of my way to deal with that as well. Maybe different methods, but the same sort of mindset. When I feel like I'm stuck, like for example, yesterday, stuck is a very strong word, but I've been working for 3 days really productively, meetings, did a workshop, podcast, like boom, boom, boom. And at some point I need to solve something. And I feel like my mind is just like in this frantic energy. And I feel like I don't know what to do with this specific thing. It's like, okay, dude, get out, go for a walk, get out of the office. It was sunny outside. I got a freshly squeezed juice of pear juice. Just went for a walk, listened to some music. 20 minutes, came back. I don't know if you do this espresso naps, but it really helps me. Like I get a shot of espresso and then put some music or a podcast or whatever, and then I sleep or nap for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Then I wake up. Sometimes I do push-ups. But it kind of, if you're home, you can take a cold shower, like something with your body. Like you gotta
Mhm.
move, you gotta do something differently. And then when you come back, it's like, oh, it's not a big deal actually. That's, I'll
It's
figure it
often
out.
not a big deal. And I was laughing to any mother listening out there, if you have given a birth to a child, or been through when the kid is really sick, nothing, other things just don't matter. And I sometimes remind myself about these things when you are overwhelmed by these little stuff in life, and you're like, yeah, but does it really matter that much? And I'm totally with you, Stoyan, in the sense that often you can help yourself with very little things, just a walk, just a breather, doing something funky, like put on a good song, and dance a little bit, eat your favorite ice cream in the middle of the day when you shouldn't be doing that. And again, to me, it goes back to what works for you. And this is where the list of things that either help you or make you happy, gives you joy, or just nurtures yourself, helps. For example, I like Ayurvedic approach to our bodies and nutrition, even though I'm not capable of having it fully in my life. So, but I've done some reading and some exercises. For example, I remember when I went to my life coach for the first time. We worked for already for a few years, and when she realized that I know Ayurvedic approach, she's like, "Oh my God, you have such a strong vata, which is kind of this air, the wind energy, such a disbalance. For 1 week, wear a hat, buy a good sweater that is warm, eat warm soup every day for lunch, and drink tea. Come back to me. Trust me, half of my problems at the point were not there." For example, the neighbor who parked his car badly in the yard didn't bother me anymore, just because I had nurtured my body. But it takes to know your body first. And I am actually amazed by how big impact our state of body and our nutrition has on our mental state, and vice versa. But there's even the saying, and there's a lot of materials right now about gut health that says that it's the second brain. And if your guts and if are in a bad place, so is your brain. And the other thing that I think that coming back to our ambition versus mindfulness, I think sometimes when you have this bad ambition and you're not in a good place and you haven't eaten well and you have been working for the third day and night in a row and you're, I think sometimes it feels like you're banging against the door, and your ambition makes you push harder. What does mindfulness? It helps you step back and read that it actually says pull, not push.
So true.
and and,
So
and this is
true.
this is why it's needed. And I think you are actually become more successful. You become probably you achieve more, as you also said, Stoyan, right? When you are coming from the right place, when you are coming in a good state to it. I remember, like, it used to be heroic when you are a startup founder and you sleep in the office and you have a beer on your table after working hours. Right now we say no, it's actually good if you go do sports after work. You eat a good meal and you actually have a good night's sleep.
Yeah, the piece that you say about creating this mindfulness space, or like, and I think really some people say let's find balance. I don't think you're ever in balance. I mean, who's ever in balance? You might be striving towards a place where there's some sort of a balance, but you're never, if you're perfectly balanced in your fitness, maybe something with your kids, if something, right? So you're never in balance. But the point is, and so the perfectionists out there, right? There's no perfection. You can't be like, you might have a bad day unexpectedly. You might wake up and have a headache when you have to do the most important presentation to investors. That's okay. That's life. But if we can, within our control, do the things that put us into a good state of mind, whatever that is for you, meditation, going for a run, eating well, meeting positive and empowering people, sleeping. Like, we all know those stuff. When I have a book next to my bed before I go to sleep, I don't do it every day. When I do it, I sleep better. It kind of gets my horizon. I forget about all the things. Okay, good. So all those things, the more we do them, the more we get into this better space. You can, like, tomorrow you might have a bad day. That's fine. All right, I get aware. Let me take care of myself. Even being the highest achiever, like, hey, the highest achievers need maintenance because they're putting so much energy out there. So they need to be nurtured. And the last thing, and we're getting out of time, but I think I booked you for 10 more minutes, so I'll use
I'm
my.
here. I'm okay.
So the last thing is really and I want you, because Anna, you're working with so many founders on a daily basis, and I've been working with many founders myself. Myself being a self-employed, runner, I kind of can relate to this as well. Is the lack of credit we give ourselves sometimes when we're so much focused on achieving, and this one little thing didn't work, and it's like, oh my god, I couldn't achieve it. Like, okay, but what if I look at the whole picture and actually give myself a little bit more credit about the things I achieved today? I spent 2 hours on this, I did this, and I'm curious to hear from you. I'm just going to share something that I don't know where I found it, maybe one of those personal development books, but it really works for me to write down 10 things that I'm grateful about. In the evening, just sit down, I get my paper notebook and I write down, I'm grateful because I'm healthy and I live in a great world. I'm grateful because, and I write 10 things, and it's like, wow, that's, I'm having a great life. I mean, okay, these two things I couldn't solve them for whatever. So I'm curious, what would be your advice as the final question to the super driven people, entrepreneurs, achievers who struggle to find this type of a uh, whatever you call it, balance.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that thriving for a perfect balance is another trap, an ambition can can place for us, because I agree it's not possible. And you have different phases in life. You have phases when everything works, you're in a great health state, all of your family is well, and so on. And then there's like probably the last year for many when it's kind of very, very dark and tough of its own. And I, first of all, I have this very favorite phrase of mine: it's a phase. And whenever I have talked with anyone who's going really tough times, and I don't know, I've also, as I said, I've lost my dad, for example. And when I was grieving, it really helped me that my significant other said, "Hey, it is a phase, and there's nothing to rush there. Like one day you will have more joy and less sorrow. But right now you have more sorrow and less joy about it because you have just lost your dad, and it's normal to be in that place." And kind of your justifying yourself a little bit and being kind of, hey, maybe I'm not in a place that I can, do this. And I would say that, like, I'm not sure if that's the reason, but I would believe that it's one of the reasons why people also get sometimes trapped and lost in this extremely high kind of, I want to achieve everything, I want to be great at things. It's also comparing yourself to the others, right? And I think what Instagram is doing right now to us, it's like OMG, because it's and generally social media is this portray of amazing of the amazing life. And sometimes people also come to me and say, "Oh my God, you are successful in your career. You do these, I don't know, speaking gigs, right? You're the smart person talking on the screen. Then you also have kids. Your partner travels so much, so you're often taking care of the household alone. How do you handle it all?" And my favorite question, my favorite answer, which comes from my friend, who says I do. Is I don't. And if I'm more at work, my house is a mess, and my kid says, "Mama, we miss you." If I'm more with kids, I have less kind of like maybe energy or bandwidth, or just less hours to focus at work. And there's this constant juggle. The only thing that I have learned, and sometimes through the hard way, is when I'm with kids, I'm with kids. If I'm reading a bedtime story, I'm not thinking about, oh, could they please fall asleep faster because I just want to go and listen to that podcast. And for me, it's very hard to say no to these other alternatives. And in a way, I know it sounds terrible, but this time of pandemic has actually helped me with FOMO. So I have less fear of missing out. I have less of this peer pressure. I look less at others, and I focus more on myself. And I think this focusing on myself is this mindfulness, right? Is this, what do I need? Do I need to go on this podcast and prove that I'm the most kick-ass person, or am I coming here because I want to talk about these things because they are important? And if somebody starts meditating because of our conversation here, it's amazing. Like, it's if I can impact one life and also find out things for myself, it's already has been a great day. But to finish off what you mentioned, I think is very important. Gratitude and forgiveness are generally the two concepts that would save anyone who is in kind of talking or thinking about these things would give you this advice. One thing is the ability to forgive. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself. I have to forgive yourself. Sometimes I forgive myself for being a shitty mom and allowing my kids to watch TV and order McDonald's. And I'm like, it's the day. It's this kind of day, and it was the best that I could do. And it was the best that I could do in that particular situation with my understanding of it and with the resources that I have. And the other part is gratitude. And I totally agree with you. And I try to practice it even with my kids. I usually ask them, what are the three things they are grateful for the day? What was maybe something that was really good? And I'm a big believer that when you focus on the positive things, that you become more positive. Fun fact, my kids play this game, Coche Amarillo. So they say when there's a yellow car on the road, I'm amazed how many yellow cars are on the road. But this goes back to our perception, right? Where we put our attention, where we put our efforts, this is what nurtures, right? And if you put it in a good place, then you create more of that goodness in your life. If you're grateful for the things that you have, I don't know, I'm sometimes grateful just to have a car that runs and doesn't create me problems. It's like, thank you, car. It's like, you take me places and you don't break down on the road. I love you, Okay, it's a silly example, but I think that yes, in this rush, and I wanted to say one more thing, that especially founders, they get lost because of the speed of the movement. When you fly with a plane, you don't see the birds, you don't see the flowers. And sometimes you need to get somewhere fast, but sometimes you need to take a bicycle.
Wow, what a great example to wrap this thing up. Zane, thank you so much. As always, super. We're always going deep in our conversations, but I'm super happy that we made this one public. So thank you for being with me, for exploring these kind of topics. And I just want to, before I give a chance to Zane to share where you can find her, to remind everybody that we're very grateful for you tuning in, listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, go to Apple Podcast and rate us there. That help us to reach more people, and definitely share with a friend the episode. I hope that we covered some really good topics here with Zane. Zane, finally, where could people find you, learn more about, again, Startup Wise Guys, or you yourself? Where could they find you, reach out to you if they have any more questions?
Yeah, I'm out there on LinkedIn, which probably would be the best way. But I always say, if you want to connect with me, or then please let me know something in the notes, because I have so many incoming invitations that I often do not confirm the ones that I don't understand where they're coming from. But definitely, I'm also trying to write about these things more and more, so you can follow and find me. Yes, LinkedIn. I would say it's kind of more the professional environment. And regarding Startup Wise Guys, so yeah, the website is startupwiseguys.com, and this is mostly for the founders or investors, by the way. So if you're coming from this community, just check out what we're doing. And on this note, we're actually launching soon a very kind of large impact program together with Google. It's going to be called Jump for CE, and we're opening our knowledge free of charge to audiences, to people who are not yet founders. So we are kind of opening our brains and our content of program in 10 countries, mostly Central Eastern Europe and Baltics. So keep an eye if you are not a founder yet, but you are maybe thinking about transition in your life, or maybe you're affected by COVID, for example, professionally, and you want to look for new knowledge. We're going to have this amazing program with hackathons, with forming new teams, and I hope that many new entrepreneurs will come out of that program. And it's absolutely free of charge. We're doing it from Startup Wise Guys Foundation, which is a non-profit organization under our brand.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Go check out Startup Wise Guys. This is family. This is this is caring. This is leadership. It's way beyond the typical accelerator. It's really, you'll find a lot of other things, and you're gonna grow as a leader. Whatever program you join, hackathon, acceleration program, you name it, whatever it is for you at that very moment. But go check out Startup Wise Guys, follow them on the channels. Lots of free content as well on how to be a better leader, how to be a better founder. And that being said, once again, thanks everybody for being with us, for listening. If you like the episode, share it with a friend. And I can't wait to have you again next week for yet another episode of Productivity Mastery. Until then, be productive, be mindful, don't
Be happy.
be happy, be driven, of course, go for your things, but in a mindful way. That's
Thank
kind
you.
of the wrap up. Thank you, everybody.